All right, guys, let's get ready.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Indie Scene Podcast, where we take a deep dive into the scenes of indie filmmakers. That's directors, producers, actors, grip, gaffers, hair, makeup, the whole works. I'm your host, Aaron Spellz, but if you want to know more about me, look in the description, check out the link. It's not about me today. Today I have somebody that's amazing. He's an award-winning actor, producer, husband, an amazing father, a friend, actually, he got a lot of stuff coming, guys, and I'm super excited to introduce Joey Thurmond.
Man, thank
What's
you
up,
so
brother?
much, man. Thank you so much. Dude, I feel like I should be the one introducing you, man. Congratulations. Congratulations. Indie Scene Podcast. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, man. It's a long time coming, like this industry will have you going through a lot, and then you have to find what's going to be your next.
Yes.
And then not only that, what's going to be your consistent.
Yes.
Right? Because sometimes we seek certain things to be our consistent, but then you realize it's not as consistent as you thought it would be.
I think that one of the most important things that any of us can do is to be versatile, multifaceted, and available. Because you have to be able to go off on all these different directions to see exactly what works. It's the same when we're building our own personality as we're growing up.
Yeah.
We take a little bit from this uncle and a little bit from that grandfather and this aunt, whatever, and we make our personality. And we have to do the same thing. And it's kind of like taking, a handful of mashed potatoes or whatever and throwing it to the wall and see which part sticks. And then that's what you work with.
Right. Well, I definitely feel that as well, man. And my mom always used to say, you go for what you love. Right.
Yes.
If you're doing it every day, if you're thinking about it every day, if you're actually, can't stop thinking about it and you see it, then that's most likely your calling. Right. And that's how we go into it. But man, look, we're going to get into that because I need to know how Joey Thurmond became the Joey Thurmond. Right.
Wow.
And so we're going to go through all that, man. Like I said, this is indie scenes. We're going into each phase of how you got to me.
I am so honored to be your first guest.
Man, thank you.
I can't believe that you're allowing me that honor. That is a tremendous honor.
And I feel like, with this podcast, man, I do my best I'm going to do my best not to make it so, I guess, cookie cutter like everybody else.
Sure.
Right? I want it to be organic, and I want people to really get to know how we deal with certain things in this industry.
Yes.
Right? And what they can learn from it and get out of it, because I've learned a lot, and man, it's interesting of what I've learned, and I want the world to learn from me. When they get in this industry, they know.
Yeah. And I think that's something that there's not enough of in this industry. And when I say this industry, I'm talking about entertainment across the board. It could be a cartoon artist or an award-winning filmmaker.
Yeah.
I think that if I know something that would help you and I don't share that, shame on me.
Yeah.
Why would I not want to watch you go forward? Why would I not want to push you up? And I know that not everybody shares that same belief.
Yeah.
And I understand that after a while, you go through those people that just use you, and then they move on and they take what they can off of you, and you never hear from them again.
Yeah.
That's okay too. That's okay too, because that's not who my circle needs to be anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's facts.
My only thing is I just wish I had known it sooner.
And hopefully like this podcast is learning sooner.
Exactly.
For those that want to learn this stuff. So let's get into it. Yeah. Joey, tell the world a little bit about your backstory, like where you come from, just a small glimpse of you and your upcoming.
Sure. I grew up in a very small town. Grew up in very
Dallas, Georgia, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, we weren't in the town. We were in a little community called New Hope, which is not very far from.
Okay.
I know everybody likes to. We hear the words "rags to riches" and things like that, but I grew up very mediocre. I mean, it was a very meager, but I didn't know that. I never felt that I was less than anyone else, because one thing that we absolutely had in my house, in my family, was love. And that was all you really needed. I never went hungry. I never went without, clothes and whatever I needed. We didn't have marble floors, and we didn't drive a brand new Lincoln or things like that. But we had a good life,
Yeah.
But when we look back from today's standard to where I was, I mean, we didn't have a toilet in the house until I was like, what, 4, 5, 6 years old.
Oh,
But it was no different than anybody else. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Our neighbors were the same way. So nobody was like, oh, I have a working toilet now.
Mhm.
But you ain't got one either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But, and I think that like now, the home that I have, I built it in 1995.
Okay.
And
From scratch?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that home, to me, by today's standard, is probably mediocre. But to me,
It's a prized possession.
it's a mansion.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got multiple bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
I've got carpet on the floor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. I feel like that in life, that one of the number one things that we can do is want what we have instead of want what we don't have. And so anyway, to answer your question, grew up in a very small town with just a handful of friends, because that was all the kids that were my age was close by. And the only thing I ever wanted to do in my life was to be a pro wrestler.
Really?
And I achieved that goal.
Yeah. So tell us about the pro wrestling, man.
Yeah.
I did some research on you.
Uh-huh.
And so you was a pro wrestler. You went to the world champion.
Yeah, I was part of WCW, the largest wrestling organization in the world.
What was your What was your ring name?
When I was at WCW, my ring name was Joe Thurmond, the All-American Kid.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And what age was that?
Man, I was there for 3.5 years, and I was there from the time I started I was almost 20. I was almost 20 when I started there. So I was really, really young in that business. Yeah.
Wow. I definitely got to ask this before I forget. From pro wrestling and now, like, acting, what's the comparison? Is it a comparison?
Absolutely.
It's something like is it different? What's the difference? How would you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wrestling is probably the most physically demanding entertainment that you'll ever watch. The only other thing that I think would probably be more demanding would be some circus performers. Because some of that is ridiculously physical. But I think that wrestling is probably the most physical entertainment that you'll ever watch. So, I think that the number one thing that wrestling really helped me with that has crossed over to my acting is the ability to put on a character. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's just easy.
Wow.
And I know that's a really tough thing for a lot of people.
Wow.
For a lot of actors, is to be able to say, okay, this is not Joey anymore. This is now, Bart the doctor or whoever it is, or Officer Grace or whoever it is. I think that is the toughest. That's something that I see a lot of actors really struggle with. But, after you've walked out in your underwear on pay-per-view in front of millions of people, how hard can it be to do anything else,
That's kind of facts. And that, as I'm thinking, like, as we're having this conversation, I'm actually thinking, like, would you call that a gateway to getting to becoming an actor? Or would you feel that, hey, that's just something I wanted to do? Because we see a lot of actors that came from that world. We
do now.
Now.
We do now.
Right? We do now. So you see The Rock, you see John Cena,
right.
You see Stone Cold Steve Austin with his movies.
Right.
Who else am I missing? I know I see a lot.
There's a lot
of actors,
and a lot have done cameo kind of stuff and that kind of thing. To me, I think it was probably the easiest thing in the world to do was to be able to step from that, because I had a huge break in there. When I got hurt and couldn't go back to wrestling, it was a huge break from the time that ended to the time that I was able to get in front of the camera. And the first time that I got in front of the camera, I was like, oh, I had missed performing so much.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I need to do a little bit more of that.
Okay.
And then it was probably another 2 years before I got back into doing anything. And I done that. And then from that, so the very first movie that I was ever a part of was Remember the Titans.
Okay.
Okay. And from that, I was just a football player. I
Okay.
think I worked 11 days or something like that on that movie. But so I worked the 11 days on that, and then one of the producers called back.
You said Remember the Titans, right?
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite movies.
It's a great story.
Like,
It's a
I
great
love
movie.
that
It's a
movie.
fantastic
Like,
movie.
I want to dive deep into that right there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
continue.
Well, and so like one of the producers was like 2 years later, he calls and he's like, "Hey, we're back in Atlanta. We're filming another movie. Would you like to come out and just do some stuff there?" And I was like, "Okay, what is it?" And he's like, "Well, we're filming the second Dumb and Dumberer." And I was like, "Okay, sure." I had no idea what it was. And from that shoot, I done 2 or 3 days on that movie. From that, it was, "Hey, let me get your number. Hey, let me get your number. Hey, let me get your number." And then it just, I probably got 3 bookings off of that. And
that's what's up, man.
that's just the way it's been ever since. And to date, I think it's like 55, 57 credits, something like that.
So I wanna go into this space of professional wrestling, and then you broke your back.
Yeah, I had my back broke in 2 places at one time, but I didn't know until about I guess about 3 years ago now, when I had to go back in for another MRI, that I have actually broke it in 4 places.
Wow.
So I broke it in 4 places, at least on 2 separate occasions, if not 3.
I just want to take a pause and have everybody to really think about this real quick. You are walking.
Yes.
And you're alive.
Yes.
And well.
And I was told that I would never do that again. The night that I got that my back was broken on WCW, they came in and told me that the doctor, he was like, you're probably never going to walk again, because I was instantly paralyzed from the bottom rib down. And when he told me that, this is how being so headstrong in what I wanted versus what God wanted in my life was taking a hold of me. I only wanted to wrestle. That was all I ever wanted to do, and that's what I was going to do. And it didn't matter what I had to do to get there. It didn't matter who I had to step on to get there. I didn't care. I honestly did not care. And the night that I had my back broke, the doctor, he came in and he said, "Okay, we're doing everything that we can. We'll know more about MRIs and things like that as we go along." And I said, "Well, you need to hurry up and fix it, man." He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "You need to hurry up and fix it. I've got to be in Pittsburgh tomorrow night. I've got another show that I got to be at tomorrow night, and I need you to fix this now so that I can be there." And he goes, "You don't understand." He's like, you're not going to Pittsburgh." He's like, you're probably not going to walk anymore." And I remember I reached up and grabbed that doctor by his collar, and I snatched him down in my face. And I said, "Did you hear what I said? I've got somewhere to be. You fix it now." And at the time, I was doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. I was taking whatever I could take, whatever I needed to take in order to get big, because I'm not 7 foot tall. I'm an average height. I'm a 5'9" guy. But at the time, my chest was 60 inches around, and my arms were 20. And I was doing whatever I could do to grow, because at the time when I was coming in was when wrestling was changing from being just a couple of tough guys in the ring wrestling to being really aesthetic. Like, they really wanted guys that were very tall and really chiseled and had these Adonis looking bodies. That's what they really, really wanted.
Come on, get deep. Was you one on the roids?
You name it, dude. I was
like everything.
I was stacking like 5 at one time.
Man.
And it wasn't like reasonable amounts. Like, it was, this has got to happen quick. And he was like, you're not going anywhere. And he literally peeled my hand off of him.
Wow.
And he turned around and he told the nurse, he said, "Knock him out.
Wow.
I'm not dealing with him."
So from that moment, I want to dive in the scene of your brain. From that moment of saying you won't be able to wrestle, walk, like, what did you have to go through, or what was some things you had to tell yourself to kind of get back to wanting to perform again?
Well, let me say this first. It was 9 days later, they kept me in the hospital for 9 days. They kept me pretty much knocked out for the next 9 days because every time I would wake up, I would just snap. If it was within arm's reach, I was grabbing it and throwing it. I didn't care what I had to do, right? Well, every time I would wake up a little bit, I could feel a little bit more. Now, what I didn't know was that my mom and my dad had called when they moved me back, because it happened in Augusta, Georgia. They moved me back to Atlanta so I could at least be near family. My parents had called my entire church family into my room. They prayed for me in my room. They prayed for me in the hallway. They prayed for me in the parking lot around the building. And every time I would wake up, I could feel a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. Now, it was 9 days later, 10 days later, whatever it was, and I was in a full body cast from here all the way down, and I mean a full body cast.
Man.
And it wasn't pretty, but they wheeled me down to the front door of that hospital, and I told them, I said, you stop right here. And the nurse, she's like, no, we gotta wheel you out. And I said, no, you're not wheeling me out. And my buddies helped me stand up, and it wasn't pretty, but I walked those 2 steps over the threshold of that hospital. And then I got back in the chair, but I was going to walk out of that hospital. And it took, it was another 14, 16 months, something like that. And I was in body braces and cast and had to learn how to walk again and all those things. It wasn't because of my faith, because at the time I wasn't using faith. I was using just me, just my brain, what I wanted, my desires. But it was through the faith of my family and friends that I was able to walk again and all of that. So that's why having the right people in your circle is so important.
Right.
Is because it wasn't me. It was through their faith, through my satellite faithful friends and family. Those are the ones that prayed me through. I didn't do it myself. They done that for me. So that's why having those friends and that family around you is so important.
So how long was that gap from that situation to was it Remember the Titans right after?
Yeah, no, I mean, it wasn't right after by a long stretch. To be honest, I would have to look those dates up because we're talking 90, 93, 94 until what? When did they shoot Remember the Titans? 90, 99?
Yeah.
98,
something like that.
So it was the span of that.
So throughout, I'm just want to get throughout this, you ain't doing nothing but healing.
Oh, no. I was healed up about 16 months later. Like I said, I had to learn how to walk and everything again. Then the only other thing that when I found out that I wasn't going to get a new contract from WCW, I wasn't going to get a contract from WWF.
You went into policing.
I went into policing. I had offers to go to Japan as a wrestler and work over there, but the contracts there were just...
Yeah.
It just wasn't good. I mean, it was basically a 30-day contract at a time. You can't build a family on that. You can't build a life on that.
Okay.
You walk into a bank and tell them I'm unemployed every 30 days, and they're going to be like, well, good luck. So I looked at options all over the world. I had invitations to go Mexico and all these other great places, but the contracts were just so limited because you never know about immigration, things like that. You never know if you're going to be able to get that talent there. So the only other thing that I had ever thought would be interesting to me was policing. And the only reason that was really interesting is just because I can't stand bullies.
So you went from getting your butt whipped on the ring to dodging bullets.
Yeah. Yeah. I dodged all. I dodged all. I dodged all but 2. I caught 2, but I dodged all the rest.
And you dodged being paralyzed, man, which is, that's a miracle of itself.
Absolutely, it is.
That's a miracle of itself. So in this time frame, you're done with professional wrestling. You start becoming you're a police officer. I hear that you won a few awards being a police officer.
Yeah.
Yeah? Did you win any awards as being a wrestler?
let's see, what about 4 or 5 years ago I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was something like the top 15 or 20 most gruesome injuries or something like that. So yeah, I came full circle with that. I actually wanted on board with that. Yeah.
Okay, so did you always knew you wanted to be a performer or like in the creative? Yeah? Always.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Never doubt.
No doubt.
When was the first moment what age was it when you was like, I want to be a performer?
I have no idea.
You don't?
I swear I don't. I can't remember a time that I didn't know that I was going to perform something.
Okay.
It was just there. And so this is my true belief. God puts different dreams in each one of us and different desires, different abilities and talents.
I agree.
Because that's what he has for us. I can't do what you do. You can't do everything I can do. I can't do everything that my sons can do. But what a boring place it would be if we all looked, done, smelled the same.
Yeah.
When we choose to not follow through on those dreams that he's placed inside us, we're truly taking blessings away from him. And now he's having to figure out, okay, Joey's not doing this part of what I had for him to do. Now I got to figure out somebody else. How am I going to make this work? And shame on us for putting him in that position. So I've always said this, God puts those things in our heart for a reason. It's not because that's what we want to do. It's because that's what he needs us to do. And God gets his blessings from being able to reward us and knowing that he can trust us with those rewards. Who am I to rob him of his blessings by not being in a position to where he can trust me with something? So we have to follow through.
Man, that's deep. That's talk about follow through. Follow throughing. So let me ask you this: besides the injury, what was another tough thing you had to go through in this industry or getting into your industry? Was this like,
man, tough to get into. You know, I think that it's the same thing that we all struggle with. It's finding our way in. I think that's actually it. You know, is finding our way in and then trying to figure out a way to sustain ourselves while we're there. You know, because it's, you know, as well as I do, that's why it's so important, I think, to be multifaceted. You know, you have to have someone that can be a really good director. You have to have, that person probably needs to be a really good director of photography. They also need to be able to do all these different things because you never know from one day to the next. Okay, I've got a directing job for the next 3 weeks. Well, I'm unemployed after that. Now I've got what's going to be my next thing? Oh, okay. Well, I can be a director of photography. Maybe it's not what I truly love to do, but I'm really good at it. Yeah. And I'm not talking about me personally. I'm just talking about it in general. And that's why I think the entertainment, when you see entertainers that have been there for a while or in the industry for a while, I think that they are some of the most resilient people that you'll ever find because they have to take those adversities. You know, one day if you're sitting on your wallet and if you fall off of it, you might break a leg because there's so much in it. And then next week you may be pulling up those couch cushions, sifting through the Cheetos, trying to find some change so that you can, you know, go buy one more bag of Cheetos.
Man, you know? I know how that feels.
But that's the way it is, you know, and that's one of the things, that's why we have to love what we do. Yeah. We have to love what we do.
Yeah. Talking about that, man. So, I guess, you know, as you was coming up, you have to love what you got to do. Like, you have to love what you do for sure. Let's dive into your first gig, and that was Remember the Titans. Yeah. Do you remember this experience?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So my experience was I was policing, and it was getting close to Christmas, and it was an extra job. It was a security job. There was, I think, 9 trucks in a little fenced off parking lot, and nobody was supposed to come in and nobody was supposed to go out around these production trucks, right? No problem. I got it. 16 hours was the shift. So all you had to do was go in there, drive your car in, lock yourself in, and just make sure that nobody messed with the stuff while you were there.
Mm-hmm.
They would bring your food to you, like when Crafty when they would break for lunch or whatever, they'd bring your food.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy brings the food one, and he goes, "Hey, you want to go play football?" And I was like, "No, man, I got to stay here. I'm making good money. This is a great extra job.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas is coming up. It's great, it's
Mm-hmm.
great bonus money." And he goes, "Okay, all right." Well, he leaves the food and comes back like 20 minutes later, and he said, "Hey, they said that if you wanted to leave here, they'll pay you what you're making here, and they'll pay you a daily rate to come down there and play ball." I had no idea what the movie was, nothing. Had no idea about any of it. And to be honest with you, I don't think that half the people, probably more than half the people that worked on that movie at the time, knew that it was going to be the hit that it is, that it was going to be the staple that it is.
Wow.
And I think that and I'll come back to this, but I think that that's what's so exciting about each project is you never know what's going to hit.
Mm.
You've got those when you look at it and you're like, I want to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, this is a great product, but it just doesn't grab, it doesn't get any traction. And then it seems like that 9 times out of 10, the ones that you're like, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I don't think it's the best work. It's like,
it takes off.
And I'm like, where does that come from? But anyway, so I go back and I was like, okay, great. So I went down, put on a uniform, played ball. He says like, hey, we'll use you these days. Boom, 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 boom. And I was like, I don't know if I can go to all those days. I had to go back to the department, I took vacation.
Mm-hmm.
I spent like a week's worth of my vacation. So I was getting paid for my vacation time from the PD.
Yeah.
And I was getting paid my daily rate.
You was doubling.
I was double dipping.
You was doubling.
Yeah.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So from that, you went into Dumber and Dumber.
Yeah.
Was that also a security job, and then you got in, or this time it was
one of the producers from Remember the Titans called because you got to remember, this is before Atlanta was Atlanta, before Georgia was Georgia.
Yeah.
And as far as the movie scene.
Oh,
wow.
Wow.
Okay. All that was here.
Okay.
So when they came back from LA back out here to shoot again, they were looking because they didn't have those connections. So he calls and he's like, "Hey, we're doing this. If you want to come out," and I was like, "What's the pay?" And the pay had went up like $100 a day or something. I was like, yeah, I'll take it.
And back then, that's probably a lot of money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like those wages probably was gigantic.
It was great days.
Yeah, they need to fix the wages now.
Man.
Still, man. Like, dang, if it was like that, you was good.
I think. Now let me say this. I think that our wages, for me, I'm happy, and I'm probably probably one of the only union members in the world that will say that. I think it's very fair.
Mm-hmm.
There's some other things that need to be tweaked as far as union contracts, but man,
you good.
I'm great.
You good. Okay. I was actually going to talk about that.
And because one of the reasons I think it's great is because you've got a base daily rate, but it's up to me to negotiate, or my agent or my manager to negotiate for anything else that I need.
I absolutely agree.
All they can do is say no.
I absolutely agree on that.
You don't have it because you don't ask for it.
I absolutely agree. So what did you play in Dumber and Dumber?
I was just background.
Okay.
I was just a straight background guy.
Okay.
Nothing. And I was basically the same thing in Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
You find the shortest player on the ball field.
That's you.
I'm your guy.
I'm about to go point it out.
I'm telling you. I wish I could say I was number 49 or I was number 36, but it was a different number and a different uniform.
Okay.
Day. So yeah.
That's interesting. So when did you first get so you've always been a performer with wrestling.
Yeah.
You went and kind of took a hiatus with the police enforcement, but because of that, it kind of opened up another door.
It did.
Which is beautiful. To you now being on camera.
Yes.
When did you transition to being directly on camera instead of a background? Like how did that come about?
Before we continue, I want to share an opportunity to all the business owners and marketers out there. Our podcast is the perfect platform to showcase your brand, product, and services. Your message can reach a diverse and engaged community with our commercial sponsorship. Our company will work closely with you to craft a message that aligns your brand with our show's unique vibes. Interested in learning more? Click the link in the description or visit our website at spellzproductions.com. We look forward to working with you. Back to the show.
That came about from a really, really good friend of mine now that I didn't realize at the time was going to be a really, really good friend. I had been doing I had done 10, 12 different background roles, just here's the way that I operate. I watch
As an officer still.
No.
Okay,
just as background.
Okay.
Just as background acting.
Mm-hmm.
But I watch. Like I'm of the belief that God gave us one mouth and two ears because He wants us to listen to twice as much as we say.
Yeah.
So when I'm on set or when I'm anywhere new, especially new, I'm learning. I'm watching. And I feel like that we learn more about what I don't want to do than what I do want to do 9 times out of 10 by watching other people. So just making connections with people. And I had done probably 12 or 15, I guess, background roles, on different shows and things. And I auditioned. I saw this part and I auditioned for it. And the guy called me back and he's like, "Hey, we really like what you've done. We'd like to give you the opportunity to do it." And I didn't realize then that it was a lead. Dude, I had no business being a lead at that time. I had no business whatsoever. And I was actually working in
a lead role.
Yes.
For your first.
For my first, if you want to, my first credit.
Yeah. Your first official credit.
Yes.
Was a lead.
Was a lead. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And
that's a huge leap from background.
I've had so many people that were asked, they're like, "How did you do that?"
That's
and I'm
amazing.
like, "I didn't know that I couldn't." Yeah. And that's the honest truth.
I love that answer.
I didn't know that I couldn't.
Wow. I didn't know that I couldn't.
And
go after that.
I mean,
hey man, hey, that's a beautiful answer.
Why, we do that so much, and this is getting off topic, but we do that so much to ourselves. We limit ourselves so much by thinking. Stop thinking and go do. Because you'll talk yourself out of it. Trust me when I tell you. I wrote this the other day in a post. If you share your dreams with the wrong people, not only will they tell you that you can't do it, but they'll spend the time to convince you
you can't do it.
That you can't do it.
Wow.
And if you hang out with them long enough, you'll believe it. And you'll look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself the same thing. I can't do that because of this. I can't do that because of this. Just go do it. What happens if you mess up, man? What happens? At the bottom, at the very bottom, did you learn?
Yeah, that's what you should take away from anything you mess up on.
At the very bottom.
Right.
That should be that. It's still a positive experience.
Yeah. It's not a loss, it's a lesson.
It's not a loss, it's a lesson.
Wow.
So, yes. Okay, so the first role was first role was a lead. And
all these background roles.
Yeah.
First time auditioning. This is your first time auditioning.
First official audition. I nail it, or I get the role, and it's a lead role.
Wow, Joey.
Okay. So I go and do the movie, and the movie was called Mistakes and Monsters. Got to work with some really good folks. And the producer and director of that film, who is also one of the actors, Raziel Liz, turns out to be just a tremendous friend, brother that I've worked with. He is my co-lead in the new series Annihilation of Man that premiered last year. We were in the #1 slot for 5 or 6 weeks.
Nice.
And then we were in the top 10 for like another 8, 9, 10 weeks after that.
Nice.
We just started filming season 2, so we're coming back in October for season 2. He also connected. See, this is how. The night that we shot the first scene for Mistakes and Monsters was at a location for another filmmaker. Has his offices there. I didn't know that this guy was a filmmaker. All that I saw him do was let us in the building. Okay. We went in, we shot our scenes, we done our thing. I just was cast through Raziel, who got a lead role in this new series. So that filmmaker is the filmmaker that's shooting it.
So it's the connection.
So that connection got me this. So now I have another lead role in another series that I'm shooting that goes to, it's still in production. I think I've got 3 or 4 more days on it. But So Annihilation of Man, I got to plug that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great series. It's crazy. It's all over the place. But the other new series that I just got cast through that is Black Vinyl.
And that's So Annihilation of Man was, and you kept that relationship all the way to now.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
that relationship is still.
Oh, we're still rocking. We talk every day.
That's beautiful.
Every single day. And there's projects that we both have coming up that we'll be like, hey, I was thinking about this. Let's shoot a little concept of that and see how it goes. Let's do this, let's do that. And that's one of the ways that we shoot. I think that's why we work so well together, is because for Annihilation of Man, he was like, okay, I've got this wrote, and I like this and I like this, but I don't know how we're gonna do this. And I'm like, dude, just write whatever you think.
Yeah.
If it's a plane crash, write a plane crash.
Yeah.
If it's a car chase, write a car chase.
Yeah.
If it's a gunfight,
We figure it out later.
We'll figure it out.
Mhm.
That, to me, I think that one of my phrases is, it's just stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just stuff.
It's just stuff.
We figure out the stuff.
Mhm.
If we have a beginning and an end. We
Mhm.
know where we want to go. All right. So now the most important step is the first step, because you got to start.
Mhm.
The rest in between is just stuff. We'll figure it out. It's just stuff.
I like that you're saying this, because it kind of leads me right into what I'm going to go into first. Background roles, professional wrestling, all that's your earlier days.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into you becoming leads and on big roles. The question that I have for the earlier days is, what have you learned? I guess give me a few tips of what you've learned through that process to then take on these lead roles and leading from that moment.
Man, I've had so many really, really good opportunities to just watch and learn.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best opportunities that I've had was I got to work 13 days, literally side by side with Sam Rockwell. I don't know if you know who that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
phenomenal actor. I got to learn so much almost by, I told him one day, we were sitting there, and there was long days, there were some days that were really long days, 16, 17-hour days.
Mhm.
And I told him one day, we had just been sitting there quiet. We hadn't said anything. We hadn't done anything. And he leans over and he goes, "You think you're still learning?" And I said, "I know I'm still learning." And he said, "How you know?" I said, "Dude, I'm learning by osmosis." He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Just sitting here. I'm learning." I said, "I don't stop learning." But to get to spend time with him and watch him and watch Taraji Henson and watch just how they worked not only together but separate, both on and off camera. Man, that was, they were paying me to be there, and it should have been the other way around. I should have been paying for that, because the things that he shared with me are the things that he had learned from personal experience, not from an acting coach.
You got one? What's one thing that he taught you?
Oh man. Well, one was be available. 2 was that we were portraying characters that were real people. Like these were people that were
existed, like
that,
a bio.
That existed, right. And one of the things that he told me was, he said, there's so many people that this is the only version of that person's life that they'll ever know about. Be careful how you let other people see them. And I think that that's one thing that when you're portraying someone that's real, a lot of times with things like these true crime shows and things like that, I feel like that the actors, I don't want to say they forget that. It would be easy to forget that I'm playing a person's life. This is 9 times out of 10 a tragedy with those true crime stories. You're portraying the only version of that person's life that most people will ever see. It's important. Not only is it important that the audience is giving you that part of their life to watch what you're creating and watch what you're doing, but it's important because that's the only version of that person's story that they'll ever see. So I think that was one of the biggest things.
Okay.
Now, and then to be able to work with just so many other great people. Lucas Till from MacGyver, I got to work with him on the Spike Lee movie, The Son of the South, you know, and to hang out with him and watch his different, because he's been acting since he was a kid. You know, he grew up in that industry.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I mean, I backed into it like a hot stove. I didn't, you know what I mean? I mean, I knew that I wanted to perform.
Yeah.
But I didn't have
performing as a wrestler. Now you're coming into character development and stuff like that. And that brings me into the next thing.
Yeah.
How did you approach character development, especially in the audition for your lead role?
Yeah. I think to me, character development I have to begin the process with something. It can be an accent. It can be a piece of clothing. It can be a watch. I like to have something tangible, like a piece of clothing or a watch or a ring or a hat, something like that. And then let that be the nucleus and build out. That's just the way I like to do it.
Okay.
There's some characters I feel like that are really easy to develop and to build. And then there are some that I really, really like to take time and say, okay, this scene is an opportunity to show a different perspective of this character, even though maybe he's the antagonist. Why is he the antagonist? Did he start with good intention and it went bad somewhere? How did that happen? And I feel like that when you can try to get into it that deep and try to tell that part of the story, 9 times out of 10, you're going deeper than the writer ever thought about.
Yeah.
But you're also able to give the audience more bang for their buck because it just makes it more believable.
Okay. Yeah. So you do this audition, and I got to talk about this preparation for this audition because you get the lead role, your first, and I that's really amazing.
One of the lead roles.
It's still a lead.
Yeah,
it's still a lead.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's still a lead, man.
Right.
You get the lead role, right?
Right.
You're not a background.
Right.
You're not a supporting role. You in that.
Right.
So what techniques do you use or did you use to get the role or to when you were approaching auditions? Actually,
I was different. I'm different.
So auditions, you always different.
I'm different. And I don't mean like I'm built different. I don't mean that egotistical. I'm different stuff. I do something different. I look at it, if I get a set of sides and I'm looking at an audition, I look at it and I think, okay, what's the first way that I see this, and then I change it. I don't ever do it the way I did it. I don't ever do it the way I see it the first time, because the way I see it the first time is the way that 2,000 other people that are going to audition for that role are going to do it the same way. I personally don't like auditioning in front of blue or gray curtains. Why do we do that?
I don't know.
Why do we do that? Why do we have to be the same? It doesn't have to be the same.
Right.
What makes it different? One thing that when I'm casting for the stuff that I direct and that I produce, one of the things that I look for is, why is it different? What makes this person different? Why would I do an audition any other way? I want the next tape that I open, the next screen that I pop up, I want that to be my actor. I want that person to get the role. But I'm not going to give it to the one that is doing it exactly like 50 others done it before.
Yeah.
So when I done that audition for Mistakes and Monsters, which, by the way, we just re-released, it's now on Tubi and Amazon and all this stuff. Right?
Okay, I definitely got to check it out.
I couldn't believe that the re-release 5 years later, 6 years later, whatever it was, dude, it went straight to like 88% Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, just like, bam. I mean, just like, yeah. So anyway, but it's a good movie. That's why. It's just a good movie, you know?
Congratulations, man.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
But it just, when I done that audition, this guy, it's a scene where he's really calm, and this character is psychotic on a good day, right? Like he has the ability to snap, and he
0
is
to 100
so far over the top. But
0 to
everybody,
1,000.
I mean, he goes 0 to 1,000 right here, and then he turns around and goes, anyway, we had a good day going.
Wow.
And I mean, he's just right back to, because he's constantly winning people over to him. Even though he's this guy, he's just constantly winning people over. That's how he just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Did you ever have a role that you really, really wanted and didn't get?
Of course. A 1,000 of them.
Really?
1,000 of them.
How
I
do
can't
you
tell you how many times that I will get an audition and my agent will be like, okay, this is for a 5'9" guy. He's half Indian. He's half white. He's from Northwest Georgia. He's got a Southern accent. He's got dark hair. He's got lighter colored eyes. And I'll be like, and his name is Joey. I'll be like, got it. And go in there and just nail the audition and never hear a word.
Wow.
And you see the role later on, and it'll be, like a 6'7" Jamaican guy, it's super dark complectors. I mean, just something crazy. But here's my thing with auditions, and this is the honest truth. When I do an audition, I pray when I'm done with it.
Mm-hmm.
When I hit the send button, I say, God, if that's where you want me to be, work it out. And if that's not where you want me to be, I don't want to be there anyway. I walk away. I can't tell you how many times. When I got Son of the South for Spike Lee, my agent calls and goes, hey, that audition that you done for Son of the South, they want to do a callback for that. And I was like, okay, great. And she's like, so what are your available, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what is that again? And she was like, it's the Spike Lee movie, The Son of the South. And I was like, what was the role? Because, I mean, honestly, it had been 10 or 15 auditions later. I don't remember them after that.
Wow.
I once I submit it, I forget it, because if you don't, man, it'll drive you crazy.
So when did you, let me ask you this, because I hear agents a lot. I don't have an agent. I don't know if I want one. I don't know to have one. When did you decide, or how did you come about getting an agent? Was it in your early days when you was doing Remember the Titans background work, or when you start getting like more lead roles?
Once I started getting some good supporting and lead, once I had about 4 or 5 of those, I felt like that I had enough on my resume to be able to kind of shop myself around to some of the smaller agencies. And I done that, and like within the first week, I had 3 that were like, hey, we'd like to sit down and talk to you. Sat down, I picked one, and it was okay.
For those that don't know, how do you get an agent? Like, what's the process?
Well, I think that there's a lot of processes, to be honest with you. I think there's the process of who you know, and them coming to you. And then there's the process of you shopping yourself like crazy. Like is this like shopping, like knocking on doors? This is
like
knocking on doors, emails, phone calls, mailing packets in,
following up.
It is.
If you want it, go get it.
If you want it, go get it. Yeah. And here's the only problem I would say is you need an agent. There's some roles that that a casting director or a production, they're only going to go
to an agent.
And that's the only way you're going to get a shot at it. My agreements are as to where if they come to me, if you come to me as a filmmaker and say, hey, I really want you to do this movie, I would really like to have you here. I retain the ability to make my own deal. And now if once we have our deal, then I'm going to say, listen, my agent represents me. I'm going to bring them in because there's tons of stuff that they've submitted me for that I didn't get. You come to me. It's a done deal. To me, it's just fair. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just fair. That's just what you should do. But I retain in my contracts the ability to make my own deals because I just think that it's fair and it's important. Is it important to have an agent? Yes, I think it is. Do you have to have an agent in this business? No, you don't. It's important to have a good agent. Let me back up and say it like that.
But how do you know?
You don't. You
How do you know
absolutely
that?
don't. I can't tell you how many times I've walked out of one agency going into another and meet somebody coming out of that agency going into my old agency.
Wow.
It just happens.
You just don't know.
Just because an agent is a good fit for you doesn't mean they're going to be a good fit for me.
Mm.
I've got very specific. I don't do everything. I only do what I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do film, feature films.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do television.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a good documentary, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like commercials.
Mm.
I don't like industrials. I don't like those things
Mm.
because they're not fun to me.
Right.
I only do what's fun.
Right.
And thankfully, I've busted my butt and I've worked hard for a
Mhm.
long time to be able to say, you know what? I don't have fun doing that. I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Just not going to.
Right.
And it's important. You know, you have to have an agent that's willing to say, he doesn't like to do commercials. So we don't submit him for commercials. Because that's a big part of the industry.
It is.
You know, and it's not that I don't feel like I'm too good to do commercials. I don't think that at all. I don't have fun. I want to have fun.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. That makes a lot of sense. Do you see this industry going? Do you feel that a lot of things are going to clear up, or do you feel like it's going to drop on its head and then we all going to be on indie scene? You know what I'm saying? We're going to be on our indie in our indie way, because we're hearing a lot of industry folks saying, well, first of all, the industry just let $200 million worth of employees go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Which to me says they're prepping for AI, right? But you don't really know. That's one. And then two, you see, you know, people being exposed for misconduct. And then you see the actors are standing against the producers or executives saying we want better pay.
Yeah.
With all this is happening in our industry, with our peers and everything like that,
Right.
like, how are you preparing for what's coming and what is to come? What do you think?
I want to say this, that our industry is no different than the world.
Mm.
Our industry is no different than any other major industry. It's no different than government or the school teachers or doctors or auto workers or whoever. I'm not trying to single anybody out, but it's made up of people from all walks of life. And you're going to have people that are inherently great, good people. And you're going to have people that are inherently just bad, wicked, evil people. It's just the way it is. That's the way it is when we walk out into society every day. That's why I want to say that's probably why when I hear some of the horrific stories, it doesn't surprise me, because those same stories happen in our society on a daily basis.
On a daily basis, yeah. And I also feel like a lot of people don't nut stuff in the bud. Like you said, you get it done real quick. And I feel like a lot of people allow it because they want it and not knowing that there's always another opportunity.
Yeah.
If it's meant for you, it's always going to be.
It comes down to what are you willing to trade for?
Yeah.
You know, if there's a nickel on the table that's not mine, and I reach up while you're not looking and I take that nickel, that's literally what I'm telling the world that I'm worth. I'm worth that nickel.
Pretty much.
Where do you hold yourself? Do you hold yourself to the standard that you're worth a nickel? What is your worth?
Yeah.
Because one thing that we're not good at is telling people how valuable they really are. People historically have always wanted to have domination and control of other people. Historically, you go back in time as far as you want to go back, and you see it. I don't need to dominate or be in charge of anybody.
Yeah.
To be a winner.
Yeah.
I'm royalty. And when I tell you that, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. Because it doesn't need anything to be royalty. You are royalty of yourself. I agree. I agree.
And I treat everyone else the same. One thing on the sets that I direct and the people that work with us
Mhm.
literally call and fight to get back on set with us
Mhm.
because they know that our rules are: 1, we have to be efficient.
Mhm.
2, we have to have fun.
Mhm.
That's
Yes.
it.
That's it.
And 3, you're going to be allowed to create. I don't care if you're the makeup artist. I don't care if you're the lighting designer, the DP, whoever you are. That's your specialty. It's not my job to tell you what that is.
Mhm.
You go and create that. I want you to, at the end of this project, I want you to be able to go, dude, you need to watch this. Watch what I created here. I am proud of that.
Mhm.
And when you do that, your projects are so much better. They are just, it's so much easier. When you run a set with love.
I think I agree. Just to bring it in, man, like I said, this platform is literally for you, man, and for the people that want to learn from us and our mistakes and what we have been through.
There's a lot of them.
It's a lot.
There's a lot
We
of
could
them.
talk for days. We
Yeah.
could talk for days.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I want to say, as a brother, I appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
I hope you guys have, definitely heard from this guy, because this is who I speak to get knowledge and to understand the industry even more so. So I appreciate you for letting me see insight and letting the world see insight of what you've been through and what, how you overcame your obstacles, and you still here kicking, man, still doing your
Absolutely.
thing.
Sustain.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that you sustain. Do whatever you have to do to sustain. If there's something in your heart that you feel like you need to do or that you really, really want to, it's there for a reason.
Mhm.
Sustain yourself and make that happen. Think of a bicycle wheel full of spokes. Every spoke has to do its job, because if one spoke fails, then the others around it have to work extra hard
Mhm.
to catch that slack.
Yeah.
Don't be the guy that's making everybody else have to work extra hard to figure out how it's going to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Do what God's put inside you. You may not know how to do it right now. You may not have a clue how it's going to work.
Mhm.
You may not affect but one person. If everything that I have done, everything
Mhm.
has made an impact on getting one person to realize their dream or realize their heart or the love that God has for them, I'm good. I am perfectly good. I have done what I needed to do. And at the end of the day, I hope to slide into the grave sideways and smoking, man. I want to burn the whole thing up. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I'll be able to be like, you know what?
You did what you
I
did.
did what I was supposed to do.
Mhm.
The most important thing in my life is, and I know this sounds crazy, man, but I want God to be able to lean over at whatever angels beside him or whoever it is and be like, hey, you see that one right there? You see that one right there? He's doing exactly what I wanted him to do.
Wow.
He's doing exactly what I needed him to do. If I'm doing that, if I'm able to make myself to where he can brag on me, I'm great, man.
Man. Well, Joy, man, I really appreciate you.
I love you.
I love you too, man. I really do, bro. Like, this right here is forever. Also, just so y'all know, you could check Joy out in my upcoming film, Perpetrators in Government Systems.
What's the name of it?
Perpetrators in Government
that's right.
Systems, man. It's going to be one big movie is coming out this year. Joey Thurmond is playing Officer Grace in my film, and he's been a good brother with me, man. So, Joey, again, thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
I hope y'all took some notes. I hope y'all got encouraged and inspired from his story, because this man has not given up, and he's still going. He's looking young, well, and healthy, and I feel like he got a lot more to give.
I guess the check
And so,
cleared, huh?
Yeah.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Definitely check him out. Joey Thurmond. It's in the description. All his links will be down in the description. If y'all have not already tapped into indie scene, please make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. This is literally for you. If you are seeking to get into the film industry, if you're seeking to learn from filmmakers, or you just want to know what the film industry is all about, come learn from the people that's actually in the mud. You know what I'm saying? We're actually out here creating our own pathway, creating our own lane.
What you just said. What you just said.
For real, right?
Man.
For real. I think we're the best.
You don't realize
I think we're the best teachers.
How big of a statement you actually just said is, man, I would a whole lot rather know from somebody that's still getting dirty and still got scabs on their knees from falling down and getting back up and falling down and getting back up, from a dude that's saying, yeah, look, come and give me $1,200 and listen to me speak for 45 minutes. And let me tell you how.
Hey, man.
Well, when's the last movie you worked on? Oh, that was 76. you know, you don't know nothing about today, man.
Yeah.
You know, learn from those people exactly that. Find those people that are doing what you want to do, and surround yourself with those people, and watch them and see how they move. How do they move?
Absolutely.
Because I can tell you this, they're not moving on marquees. They're not moving out there, you know, saying, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. That's not how they're doing it. They're not booking things and saying, hey, look what I just got. Look what I did. They're saying, hey, look what I did last year.
Yeah.
Look what I did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Hey, this just came out. I know I didn't say anything about it then, but here.
This is coming.
It's now available.
Yeah.
Here it is. You know, there's a big difference.
It is.
There's a big difference.
Huge difference.
And I've always thought that it's pretentious for me to say, you know, let me say it like this. It's one thing to enjoy the fruit of your labor and to get the affirmation of, hey, I worked hard for this.
Yeah.
It's another thing to be pretentious and say, look how good I am. Look how good I am.
Yeah.
Don't you want to be like me? I know you want to be like me. You know how I know you want to be like me? Because you're looking at me.
Yeah.
You want to be. Get out of here with that
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Get out of here with
ego to the door. Ego to the door. We here creating. We here creating our own pathways. We here enjoying life because we only got one life. We here taking the blows as they come. Man, you know, Joy, you said some things that resonated with me today, and I hope it resonated with y'all. Again, follow Indie Scene, subscribe, comment, like, share. Joy Thurmond is with me, the GOAT, an award-winning actor, an amazing man, amazing father, amazing friend. I love this guy.
There you go. That's the one I want to hear.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I appreciate you for being a part of my life,
Right.
and I hope he's a part of y'all. Go check out all his films. Go on IMDb, look at his list. Just go watch it all, man. Go support.
Thank you.
Peace, love, and hair grease. I'm Aaron Spellz, your host, and we see you on the next one of Indie Scene Podcast.
Thanks,
Peace.
guys.
Before you go, we would like to hear from you. Drop a comment down below, and also don't forget to hit the subscribe button, share, and like for our goal of 10,000 followers. Thank you so much. See you next time on Indie Scene Podcast.